Haberdasher Do.
Hi, it's Jane from Haberdasher Do. Welcome to my first Sewing Bee Unpicked for 2023. We're into series 9 now, I think. Anyway, so 12 contestants, 10 weeks, I think. And the first challenge that they had to do, the pattern challenge, was a top with a twisted bit at the front here. They had 3 hours to do it, which I think was going to be a little bit tight because they wanted them to French seam all the seams, which means you're kind of sewing it twice because you sew the right sides together first. No, don't sew the wrong sides together first on a small seam, and then you turn it the other way around. And the tricky thing is to do, they were quite tight armholes, sleeves to set in, so that's quite a tight curve to get round on a French seam, so that would have been quite tricky, and a couple of people did come unstuck on that, so we will have a look. Fabric wise, Esme suggested cotton, but she didn't say what kind of cotton, so you get cotton knit or cotton drill, which is quite heavy, or cotton poplin or cotton lawn, which is probably what she meant. I also thought something like a crepe viscose would work because it's nice and drapey. You wanted something with a bit of drape so you could see where that knot is. So that's a crepe viscose that we stock. This is a cotton lawn, so this does have a nice drape and a nice feel to it. It's quite a silky feeling cotton. It's 100% cotton. So we've got lots of different designs in the cotton lawns, and they're about £15 a metre. They're nice and wide. Or the other thing is something like a viscose, which would give it a nice drape. And I think one of the Tonys used a viscose, like multicolour. So we've got lots of different designs in the viscose as well. So if that floated your boat, nobody did it in a knit, in a jersey. I think that would have worked as well, as long as it's quite a stable jersey. So pattern wise, it looked very much like an old McCalls pattern, 7957, which is out of print now. They took it out about 18 months ago, a year, 18 months ago. There was something very similar, 7975, so it's a very similar number. It has the twist just to one side, and this is designed for stretch fabrics. Okay, so there's that one. If you like the knot but want a more of a dress, there's a couple of McCalls patterns. I think this one is the plus size one, so that's 8340 or 8339, so one after the other. Okay, so that has the same knot detail. Also I found this, which is like a sarong style skirt with a knot in it. That is 8328, and that is available in regular and plus sizes. Okay, right, moving on. So there was a mix of abilities in the finished garments. So there were some very good ones, and there were a couple of not so good ones, and then there was a whole bunch which were fairly similar in the middle. So a couple of them, when they did their French seams, they didn't trim down the seams, so that when they turned it the other way, you could see some of the threads and the hairy bits coming through. Jilly and Catherine put their sleeves in upside down. That's just because they're hurrying. A sleeve shape is like a bell curve at the end, so it is should be fairly obvious which way it's going in, but if you're in a hurry, you're just going to whack it in as quickly as possible. So they both did manage to do that. Sometimes it's more common to put it in back to front, so you put the back at the front and the front at the back, but I think they put them in upside down, completely upside down. And then 2 or 3 standout ones. Asma's, she chose a silky fabric with a bold print, and she was really careful on her pattern layout, so she had a flower here and here, and she had a flower in the centre of the back. Tony's in the nice, really colourful, looked like a viscose type print. His looked pretty good, and the other one they liked was Matthew's in the glittery fabric. Now I thought he'd come a cropper because he raced ahead and he had to unpick one of his French seams, but he managed to pull it back and he did a good job. So there we go. At the close of business, Asma was looking very promising. So let's see what happens in the transformation. So the transformation challenge was to transform some corporate wear, specifically a shirt and a skirt, into something which, a garment that expresses your personality. Ideally they wanted you to use both the skirt and the shirt in the transformation, and then you could dive into the scrap bin as well and use some of the fabrics there. So as usual, some weird and wacky things came out, and as usual the weirdest and wackiest one. Not quite sure. Yeah, the brief on this is different to what I would do, because they don't seem to judge it on your sewing ability, it's more on your creativity, so you have to remember that. So that's why the more creative ones won, rather than those with sort of quite a lot of technical detail. For example, Tony W, he made a waistcoat out of a shirt, and no he didn't, he made it out of a scrap and a skirt, so he didn't use any shirt. So there's quite a lot of technical sewing in there, but he didn't kind of stick to the brief, so that's probably why he got marked down. Yes, so Matthew's bondage shirt, what did Patrick call it? The one side was the office and one side was the dungeon, so there we go. Anyway, so at the close of business, after those two challenges, Matthew and Asma were at the top, and then struggling at the bottom were Mia and Catherine. So we had to go into the pattern challenge to see what happens. So they had to make a dress with a cutout element. So you have to be careful, because if you make it too hello. So for the pattern challenge, they had to make a dress with a cutout element. So the tricky thing with this is, with a cutout, you don't want, it's got to fit quite well, because if it's too loose, it's gonna sag. Okay, and clearly you can't have anything that's too tight, because that's just going to be uncomfortable for everybody and not good to look at. They also wanted the cutout to be prominent. So unfortunately Gilly's they didn't think was prominent enough, but so there were extremes. So Matthew's cutout was almost too revealing, and some interesting designs, very bold designs. I've found some patterns. Some of them are spot on as to what they are. So the first one, Vicky's dress on a plus size model. I didn't like the look of the fabric, but when I saw it made up, it looked really lovely, and it was made really, really well, and it fitted the model really well. So that was a great thing for her to do. That is a pattern by Closet Core. It's called the Pauline dress, and I know this because I bought it the other day for my daughter. It's not one we stock at the moment, but maybe we'll look at getting it in.